last week's episode of Gundam Build Fighters Try, Gyonko and her goons from the St. Odessa School were thoroughly pummeled by Team Tri fighters. And now everybody wants a piece of this team, and that's because they're the underdogs. And everybody likes to root for the underdog. This week's episode was great. It was a lot of fun, and just like the first season, it introduced a number of new characters who are going to be the opponents for Team Tri fighters in the upcoming World Tournament. I'm really psyched to see all of this because these guys seem even more unique than the ones we saw in the first season. There's this one group of scientists who also happen to be underwater enthusiasts, and they actually do gunpla battle at the bottom of this pool, and they even seem to specialize in using underwater mobile suits like the Cap-Hole and even the Cancer from Gundam Wing. There's also this one real serious creepy blonde kid who's hanging out on top of a jungle gym, and he's using some sort of gunpla which appears to be something from either Gundam Seed or Gundam Seed Destiny. I'm not quite sure what it is. Maybe you guys could tell me in the comments section below. The main story this week is that Fumina is going to have to get herself a brand new gunpla. She wants to do this in order to properly back up her brand new teammates, Yu and Sekai. Now, the intro of the show has already given away what type of Gundam she's going to use. However, in this week's episode, she still doesn't even get it yet. She actually just gets the inspiration for it. And I love all of the suggestions that Royale is actually giving for the different mobile suits she should use. The Blue Destiny, which frankly just looks really sleek and incredible, and the artwork they used for that scene just made it look so badass. There's also the Ground-type Gundam, which was seen from 8th MS Team, which is still, personally, probably my favorite Gundam of all time. It's right now, honestly, a tie between that and Build Fighters, and I did not see that coming. So, Sekai and Fumina are going to go on a date. It's not really a date at all, and they're basically just going as friends, but I wouldn't be surprised if they end up falling for each other. And that confounds me, because originally I thought it was going to be Fumina and Yu, but apparently Yu is just completely smitten for Mirai, and can you blame him? The chick is gorgeous. She also happens to be really funny in this week's episode, because she's following Sekai and Fumina around on their date to make sure that nothing too scandalous goes down. And there's a lot of really weird misunderstandings, like when they're holding hands, and this is because Fumina is actually trying to surprise Sekai by showing him the life-size version of the RX-78 Gundam, which is the original Gundam. And I actually happen to have a gunpla of that right here. Inside, they discover a cornucopia of gunpla goodness. So many references, I honestly can't count them all. The ones that sort of pop up in my mind is the one life-size version of the Gundam Unicorn's head before it actually goes through its transformation. There's posters all over the place. They're eating these weird, like, Haro cake type things, which look really delicious. But this is all actually leading to, yes, another action scene, another gunpla battle. There's this one new character by the name of Sekai, whose douchebaggery will live on for ages. He's gonna make a great rival, and not only that, but he happens to be a master gunpla builder. He builds an SD Gundam called the Gundam Koki, which looks like this armored knight, which has the ability to go through multiple transformation sequences, and it even has this massive silver bird on its back. It's pretty damn awesome. And they did something that was a little cartoony and ridiculous, but this show can get away with it. There's a scene where he actually builds an SD Gundam in literally like less than 10 seconds, and it's so over the top and anime styled that you just can't help but laugh at it. He literally opens the box, throws all the pieces up into the air, and like a freaking cowboy shooting all of the cans in the air, he uses his nippers to build this little SD Gundam. To go along with this battle, Sekai has also built his own SD Gundam, which is known as the Musha God Maru, which just looks real samurai themed and really awesome, and that's when we finally get the battle between these guys. Now, the battle is important because the whole premise of this episode is that Sekai is finally starting to learn that he's going to have to learn to battle in every single type of situation, because in the beginning of the episode, he's battling against Royale and his goof, which is really awesome, by the way, but when they actually transition from fighting on Earth to actually going into space, he actually can't use his special martial arts anymore because he can't seem to get his footing. So he's going to have to learn to fight in every single type of environment, and with different mobile suits. And battling with SD Gundams is completely different than battling with your traditional gunpla. And that's shown in this week's episode when they go through multiple transformation sequences. They have a lot of really interesting attacks that the other regular Gundams can't do. And even Sekai is able to unlock the special abilities of the Musha God Maru by using his martial arts skills. And it's a surprisingly flashy and well done battle, considering it's like a battle between two Gunpla dwarves, but still, it's exciting, and it gives me hope for what they're going to do with the SD Gundams in the future of this series. And surprisingly, Sekai loses this battle. He loses it hard. This guy literally flies right into his Gunpla and ends up bisecting it right in half and just causing it to explode. It's really crazy, and it's pretty obvious that we're going to see Sakai again, and if only just because he's such an incredible asshole. So what's the rundown on this week's episode of Gundam Build Fighters Try? It was awesome. It was so much fun. That's the one thing I need to stress most about this series. It's just so much fun. It doesn't take itself too seriously, and every single episode has a couple of action scenes that will completely blow you away with how surprisingly fun they really are. The story this week is just more development between Team Tri-Fighters and getting introduced to the people they're going to fight against, and I can't wait to see these guys in action, especially the guys who actually swim underwater. I wonder if they're actually going to have to, like, don scuba gear or something to go under there and actually battle them. Just the premise of battling underwater is hilarious, and they only hinted at it for a little bit in this week's episode. The whole concept of SD Gundams, though, still really intrigues me. I'm still not completely sold on them, but considering what they did with them in the first season and what they did in this episode right here, gives me a lot of hope for them, especially because Fumina herself is going to get an SD Gundam eventually, and it does happen to have the same color scheme as her gym cardigan, so at least that's pretty cool. But I can't wait to see what its special abilities are going to be, because from what I've seen at first glance, it just looks sort of like just a normal Gundam at this point. Shield, gun, sword, and that's it. Just the color scheme is a little different, but considering the two Gunpla in this week's episode went through these crazy, drastic transformations, it gives me a lot of hope for that later on. The other reason I like this episode was, of course, just the fan service, which is always all over the place. Just when they went to G-Muse for the first time, getting to see the RX-78 Gundam is just so nostalgic. I always love the look of that because it's so simple, and yet it's like the basis for what every Gundam is going to be later in the future when they go inside G-Muse, just all the posters and Gunpla all over the place. I want this shit to be real. I want Gunpla battling to be a real thing, because I would totally do it. It just looks like it would be so much fun. This episode was also really funny. I really enjoy the humor in this show, especially the scene at the beginning where they bring back the old joke about Raul's butt itching every single time he sees two people in love. Also, it was just funny getting to see Mirai sneak around like a really crappy version of Solid Snake. I don't know how they didn't notice her, because all she was doing was wearing sunglasses, and she was making quite a scene, especially when she was banging on the head of that bear guy, and all the kids were like, what the hell is wrong with this girl? And it got even better when you decided to go to G-Muse as well to pick up some brand new Gunpla parts, and he happened to run into Mirai. But Mirai doesn't want you to actually run into Sekai and Fumina, so she decides to go on a date with him as well, and as you can imagine, he was pretty freaking enamored. That, combined with the incredible action this week and all of the brand new characters they introduced, just made this a full package fun episode, which is also going to be teasing the fact that Fumina is getting a brand new Gunpla. So this was just another fantastic episode of Gundam Build Fighters Try, which is building on the first season and still becoming its own thing as the series is going on. And I've said it before, I'll say it again, if you just want to watch something that's really fun, will put a smile on your face, and just happens to have some incredibly badass action scenes, check out Gundam Build Fighters Try. I'm giving this week's episode a 5 out of 5. I loved it. I got no complaints about it. It still surprises me that this is slowly becoming my favorite Gundam anime of all time, and that is not supposed to happen. That makes no sense, but it's just that much fun. So check it out, guys. It is awesome, and go build yourself a Gunpla. Thank you guys for watching my review. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Before you guys leave, please tell me what you thought about this week's episode of Gundam Build Fighters Try. Did you like this week's episode? Did you hate it? Did you have any favorite Gunpla that showed up? And what do you want to see from the future of Gundam Build Fighters Try? Before you guys leave, please subscribe to our channel if you have not already. You can do that by clicking on the channel icon right up here. You guys can also follow us on Facebook and on Twitter.